tweet that said that the middle class in the US would freak if they found out how the middle class in China live. And I honestly agree, and it kind of like sparked a thought in my head. I was thinking how everyone here in the US is trying to make as much money as possible so that we can be as free as possible, right? But the only way to do that, and the only way to be as free, is to make a disgusting amount of money. You have to at least probably make like 500,000 plus.
Let's have a quick discussion about how being upper middle class is legitimately the worst place you can be in American society. Specifically upper middle class if you are an employee. There is a reason why in our economy we have a massive gap in the middle of people's income wages. We have the very, very wealthy, and then we have the people that are struggling to get by, and middle class is getting smaller and smaller by the day. And one of the most important pieces of an economy, a successful economy, is to have a very healthy middle class.
It's funny how Americans have like romanticized Japan just because it has gotten so popular, so aesthetic, so cute, and so mainstream. Someone on Twitter, I still refer to it as Twitter, said that Americans would literally riot if they had seen like how nice standards of living are for the Chinese middle class. We need to talk about the lie at the heart of our economy. You see, we've been told that if we could just bring factories back, that everything would be okay. But that version of America is long gone, and truth be told, it was never the full story anyway.
How often does the average middle-class American go on a family vacation? My boyfriend and I have been together for 9 years. Never been on a vacation together, just the two of us. Always had so many excuses. We met when we were 18, and so we were broke college students. Then we lived with his parents, and we were saving for our first apartment. Then we were saving for PA school.
Imagine working hard your entire life in America, only to realize that buying a home is now just a fantasy. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, an average middle-class Chinese family is buying property, eating out regularly, and sending their kids to school without drowning in debt. That's the moment Americans traveling to China say they felt betrayed by the media, by the system, and by the illusion of the American dream.
We need to talk about the lie at the heart of our economy. You see, we've been told that if we could just bring factories back, that everything would be okay. But that version of America is long gone, and truth be told, it was never the full story anyway. I'm Laura, born and raised Tennessean, who is deeply dissatisfied with our leadership that is not only ready for a change, but ready to be the change. Now, I've floated the idea of running for Congress and haven't fully made up my mind. But over the course of the next few days and weeks, I'm going to be talking about the platform that I would run on. And today, I want to address the economy and job growth. The truth is that America isn't a manufacturing economy anymore. It's a service-based economy, and more than 70% of what we do is provide services. And that's teachers, nurses, customer service, designers, accountants, hospitality, tech. We are a nation of people helping people, and it's people that keep things running. But we still cling to this fantasy of this sort of mid-century factory worker. Then we just reopen some plants and slap Made in America on something that the middle class will magically reappear. But spoiler, it won't. It won't like that. So let's get honest. Those factory jobs, they weren't great because they were factory jobs. They were great because the protections that existed around them. That was unions, pensions, healthcare, wages that let one parent work while the other one stayed at home. It was retirement plans and job security and dignity. That's what made those jobs great. Not the assembly line. It was the structure around it. And you want to know what happened? Corporations chipped away at it. Chipped away at all of it. They busted unions, they outsourced labor, they hoarded profits. CEOs went from making 20 times what a worker made to 400 times what a worker made. And then pensions vanished. Healthcare got tied to employees, or to employment, and then that got cut to save money. All while we were told to either work harder or learn to code. And at the same time, we were slashing taxes for billionaires. We were deregulating industries and letting corporations rewrite the rules to serve themselves. paychecks while warehouse workers are skipping meals. That's not capitalism, that's theft. And before you tell me, oh, that's socialism, let me ask you a question. Why are you okay with taxpayer subsidies for billion-dollar corporations, but you're not okay with teachers making enough to afford a home? It's not about punishing success, but making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be successful. And honestly, as Americans, we've got a choice. We can keep chasing some lost, mythical version of the past, or we can build a future that actually works for everyone, the future that we deserve. We can make jobs better. We can raise wages. We can fund education and clean energy and transit and tech. We can make America the best place in the world to be a working person. The economy isn't some machine that runs without us. We are the economy. The baristas and the EMTs and the coders and the caretakers and the teachers and the doctors and the lawyers. We are the economy. And if we're the ones doing all of the work, we deserve a say in how the future works for us.
It's funny how Americans and get romanticized Japan just because it's gotten so popular and so aesthetic and so cute and trick-or-treat. Someone on Twitter, I still refer to it as Twitter, said that Americans would literally riot if they had seen like how nice the standards of living are for the Chinese middle class. She had a whole tour of her colleague's house, listened to town hall. He's a teacher. He can afford this on mortgage. There's an elevator in his townhouse. It has 5 floors, so it's completely walkable, but still an elevator. The clothes made this walkable, and taxes will pay to come back to live in the country. Americans can afford affordable.
Tea usually starts with a trip. An American, maybe a student or a remote worker, visits China thinking it's a land of oppression and poverty. But what they find instead: high-speed trains, clean cities, families enjoying park picnics, cafes buzzing with young professionals. It's not the dictatorship they were told about. It's a functioning society with a rising middle class. One American expat who moved to China in 2014 said it was like walking through a parallel universe. The media told me I was entering a gray, censored hellscape. Instead, I found people happier, friendlier, and better off than many folks back home.
Let's have a quick discussion about how being upper middle class is legitimately the worst place you can be in American society. Specifically, upper middle class if you are an employee. There is a reason why in our economy we have a massive gap in the middle of people's income wages. We have the very, very wealthy, and then we have the people that are struggling to get by, and middle class is getting smaller and smaller by the day. And one of the most important pieces of an economy, a successful economy, is to have a very healthy middle class. But you have to understand our tax system. See, there have been rules that have been written in order to encourage people to become business owners. Now, I think that the easiest way to describe a business owner is really to understand it's no different than a creator or a consumer. Are you the person creating jobs, or are you the person consuming jobs? If you are bringing jobs to the table, aka you start a business and you become an employer, there are going to be tax benefits to this. If you are employed and you are consuming in the job market, then you are going to be taxed to do so. Because we live in a capitalist country, we incentivize people providing jobs versus the government providing as many jobs. Now, I'll get into a whole lot of reasons why capitalism actually is very effective, and from an economics background, it avoids a lot of black markets. But even if you don't like capitalism and you live in America, it's important to understand the rules that we live by so that you can set yourself up for success. Why would you play a game you don't know the rules to? And why would you play a game and just be like, I don't like the rules, so I'm going to do it my own way? You're just going to continuously be frustrated. You can definitely move to another country if you'd like to, but most of us don't have that option. So let's play by the rules. Or change them, but I'm not, this isn't lawyer TikTok, so like, if you're going to go change the rules, go for it if that's what you're about, but we can't do that. If had to get in order to have that is going to get taxed at the rate where your take home is almost no different than if you were at a lower salary. There's like a break even there. But if you are the employer and if you own your own business and you're making around 250K, because of write-offs, because of write-offs, you are put into a position where your taxes can be significantly lower. But there's so much more to this because there's also the consumerism that happens in the upper middle class that kills them.
How often does the average middle class American go on a family vacation? My boyfriend and I have been together for 9 years. Never been on a vacation together, just the two of us. Always had so many excuses. We met when we were 18 and so we were broke college students. Then we lived with his parents and we were saving for our first apartment. Then we were saving for PA school. We wanted to set aside as much as we could because I wouldn't be employed for the 3 years I was in the program because it was required that we didn't work while we were in the program. Then I graduated and I got my first job. Oh, but we were saving for a house. We saved for a whole first year and put aside every penny and put that as a down payment on a house. Now we're living in our house and we have credit card debt and we have student loans and we have all of these excuses. Like there's always an excuse, right? And I feel like I haven't even lived. I'm 27 years old and I can name on one hand how many states in the United States I've been to. I can name on 0 hands how many times I've been outside of the country. How often does the average person travel? Is it just me? Am I the only person who hasn't really traveled and I have FOMO for a reason? Or do a lot of people not travel? Or do people travel kind of locally and that's considered like a vacation? Because it feels like after 9 years as a couple, we should at least have gone on one vacation together, right?
Let's break it down. In China, a middle-class family, defined as earning between $15,000 to $60,000 a year, can afford to own a home, raise a child, and go on vacation once a year. Meanwhile, in the U.S., even families earning $100,000 are struggling. Rent is eating up 40% of their income. Health insurance costs more than a car payment. Childcare is a second mortgage. China's secret? A government that subsidizes housing, builds public infrastructure quickly, and controls speculation. The U.S., on the other hand, lets hedge funds buy entire neighborhoods, driving prices sky high.
I just watched what has to be one of the most horrifying videos I have ever seen on this app regarding our country's financial future. It was posted by a woman named Tiffany. I will link it. She's talking about how private equity firms have been buying up all the single-family homes. So, up until very recently, we didn't actually have the numbers to say just how many homes they've been buying up. And most politicians across the fucking board, Democrat, Republican, whatever, have been saying, well, they're really only buying like 18% of single-family homes. And then economists chimed in and said that if private equity firms are buying up anywhere from 18 to 20 to 23% of single-family homes in this country, that by 2030, they would own 60% of all of the homes in America. Well, we just got the final numbers. In 2023, private equity firms purchased 44% of all of the single-family homes in America, which means death for our middle class. Our generation will not be homeowners. They will have us permanently renting from like 2 or 3 companies. Now, America has a lot of problems, but this should be a unifying problem that every single person who is not part of one of those private equity firms cares about, including current homeowners. They bought 44% of all of the single-family homes in America last year, and they are set up to purchase an even higher percentage of them this year. Unless we have major reform, almost all of the single-family homes in this country will be owned by these private equity firms in a very, very short amount of time.
You want to know what our leaders really aren't talking about? It's the people that are stuck in the middle. I mean, in Maryland, there are thousands of people who make too much to qualify for housing assistance, but they actually don't make enough to afford a decent home. These are teachers, these are nurses, these are city workers, these are people who actually keep our communities running. Now, these people are getting priced out of communities they want to live in, and it's not because they're responsible, it's not anything that they've done, it's because the system isn't built for them. We actually need to start talking about attainable housing, not just affordable housing. We need homes that working people can actually buy, not just dream about when they see it on Zillow. The problem is we need more housing. Yeah, that means more townhomes. That's controversial, zoning so that mixed-use development can actually be built where people want to live, where they work, and where they actually want to shop. Maryland should be partnering with developers to build starter homes, not just affordable units for low-income residents, but attainable homes for the rest of us. And as we build, we need infrastructure, we need school construction to keep up with the building in the communities. The bottom line is we have to change how we think about housing. It's the foundation of opportunity for so many people. Where you live determines your access to good schools, reliable transportation, safety, and honestly, even your health. Housing is about stability. It's about dignity. It's the ability to build a future for so many families. If we want a stronger Maryland, if we want a stronger Prince George's County, it starts with reimagining what housing looks like, who it's built for, and where it's built. It's important that leaders get this right.
I just saw a tweet that said that the middle class in the US would freak if they found out how the middle class in China live. And I honestly agree, and it kind of like sparked a thought in my head. I was thinking how everyone here in the US is trying to make as much money as possible so that we can be as free as possible, right? But the only way to do that, and the only way to be as free, is to make a disgusting amount of money. You have to at least probably make like 500,000 plus or 300,000 plus and up to go on yearly vacations, to take some time off, to have savings. And that's just not attainable, obviously, for most of people. But it's crazy how in other countries, and I'm from Germany, where you don't have to make a fraction of that money to be nearly as happy. Or your money has more value and like you get way more stuff for your taxes. I don't know, it just makes you think like how people are brainwashed here.
In the US, the dream of homeownership is slipping away. Not because there aren't homes, but because private equity firms are buying them up, turning homes into permanent rentals. It's not just speculation, it's a strategy. BlackRock, Invitation Homes, and similar corporations now own tens of thousands of single-family homes. And when Americans find out that in China, property is mostly owner-occupied, they're stunned. The Chinese government limits flipping, controls prices, and ensures housing is for living, not for stock trading.
Since I cannot pronounce that word, I will just call middle class, okay? Talk about middle class. I think all my classmates in college who work in China, live in China now, they are pretty much all middle class, okay? I know many of them, so that's the pool I'm thinking right now in my head. Okay, so they mostly work in because my background is IT, so they mostly work in like Alibaba, Huawei, and Tencent, good company, middle class, manager or engineer or even director. Anyway, so I'll point out two things, okay? One is generally they are living a very comfortable life and very satisfied with their life situation. Feeling lucky because that's the first generation in China that kind of coming out of poverty, enjoy middle class life. Of course they happy, okay? But the second point is anxiety, okay? That might answer your question. So feeling very anxious, okay? That might be global. I think every society, middle class kind of feel anxious. Okay, but in Chinese situation, even more because China is highly populated, so many people, right? So we're lucky, like we're middle class, we have a really good job, we graduate from a very good university, but for our kids, can they maintain the same kind of lifestyle? That's where the anxiety comes from, because it's not necessary, because the resource is limited. For our kids to also go to the top university, that's already a big if. They have to work really, really hard. And after graduation, for them to get a really good job, like top, say, 5% job, that's also a big if. So everybody has this anxiety, it's kind of like job, the best resources is already taken. For the next generation, they kind of have to work really hard. I think that's kind of true globally, right? So that anxiety just kind of very alive. Okay, think about Tiger Mom. Okay, Tiger Mom is not just an anomaly. It's in China. You have to have a Tiger Mom so that your kids will come out of all this competitive family and eventually maybe make the middle class. That's where the anxiety comes from. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Why are we just like in China? I'm gonna let you know what one of my commenters said, and it's translated, so some things might be off. The first thing to know is that income and consumption must match. It varies from city to city. For example, in Beijing and Shanghai,
Class. That's where the anxiety comes from. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
why are we just like in China? I'm gonna let you know what one of my commenters said, and it's translated, so some things might be off. The first thing to know is that income and consumption must match. It varies from city to city. For example, in Beijing and Shanghai, there are stable jobs in these cities, and the salary is usually about 800 to 1300 US dollars. In some small cities, wages are generally 500 to 1000. For example, I'm an electrical engineer working in a small city near Beijing, and I have 1,100 a month after tax, but I only need 300 a month to live. Then they replied to another comment saying, I make very little money in China, but it seems that a high percentage of it can be used for living. As a necessary expense, I rent a 50 square meter apartment for 450 RMB or $61 per month. Water, electricity, and internet less than 100 RMB, $13. Because I can't cook, I order takeout every day. About 1,500 RMB, which is $200 a month. Could never in the United States. And is the company's bus to and from work. Because I'm unmarried, there are 5,000 RMB at my disposal every month. Let me map that real quick. That's $682 in US dollars. Wow.
What really flips the script for Americans in China is the daily experience. Eating out costs $2. Public transport is clean, fast, and costs less than $1. Groceries are affordable. Public health insurance covers the basics without bankrupting families. In contrast, an American middle-class family is crushed under medical debt, car loans, rent, and education costs. And when visitors experience China's efficiency, like food delivery on a high-speed train, they realize, we've been scammed.
What $300 a month gets you in China? I always wanted to know what it's like to live in China. So, this video is going to show us exactly that. Let's get into it.
I show you my apartment in China. It's 1,200 square feet for $300 a month, and honestly, I think it's a bit overpriced. But I just want to show you what a typical middle-class apartment looks like in China. So when you rent an apartment here, it's expected that the landlord provide basic furniture for the tenants, like a couch, tables and chairs, wardrobes, and bed frames. We really lucked out because we were the first tenants to live here, so all the furniture was never used before.
Fully furnished? I didn't even know they did that in China. The fact that the landlord has to provide new furniture, honestly, I think that's a green flag. Let's move forward.
But sadly, there's no oven. This apartment has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. We turned one bedroom into a closet because there are none, and another bedroom into our office. And that's it. No bells, no whistles, just cheap building materials and chintzy.
Bro, no oven? I'm fine with that. And keep in mind, $300 a month for 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms? Just no oven? Bro, that is fantastic. And just keep in mind, 300 USD is equivalent to 2,152 Chinese yuan. The average monthly salary is 29,300 yuan. So honestly, I don't even think it's overpriced. I think it's perfect in my opinion. And the fact that they turned this room into a closet, that's genius. And this room into an office, perfect. You guys let me know though, would you live here for 300 USD a month? Honestly, I think it's a steal. What do you guys think?
I've been seeing some people do this, and seeing as I'm about to move out of my apartment, I'll show you guys how I live on the other side of the world. Currently, I am living in Shenyang, which is the northeast part of China. I'm originally from Wisconsin, so the weather here is basically the same. I moved here about a year ago, and this is the entrance to my place. The lobby is decorated kind of like traditional Chinese, which is kind of cool, but it feels a little old. And then here are where all the deliveries and whatnot are made, and you just come pick them up. So we'll get in the elevator, and you just scan your key fob. There's 12 buildings in my community, and each one has 58 floors. We'll just skip past this part 'cause it takes like a whole minute to go up to the 32nd floor. Your ears pop and everything. And this is the hallway going to where the apartment doors are at. My neighbors have a rabbit for some reason out here. I don't know why, but we'll say hello. Seems pretty healthy. Everything's pretty chill about it. Then we go into where the apartment doors are. I tried to decorate my door for the holidays. These are from the previous Chinese New Year. And I don't have a key. I just need my finger to unlock it. And we'll go inside. I'll take off my jacket and then get on my slippers because it's customary here. And this is my place. I live by myself, but I have a bunch of slippers because people come over to hang out. Living rooms aren't usually this big in China, but seeing as I'm American, I want to feel more like I'm back home. But the couch is the landlord's, the TV is mine. I have the computer hooked up to it. Also, the floors are heated, so I don't really need to wear slippers, but I like to. And here's the kitchen. I have an oven, which is uncommon in China, and a dishwasher, which is also uncommon. Here's the laundry slash storage room. My washer is also a dryer, so I don't have to have both. And dryers are not common in China as well. The fridge is a little small, but it's just me in this house, so I don't really have to worry. Here's the dining room. These couches are supposed to be in the second bedroom because they turn out into a bed. And then here's the view of the street. The street on the left is one of the most busy streets in Shenyang. So getting around in a taxi or their Uber called Didi is kind of annoying. Here's me, say what's up. Then this is the second bedroom that I kind of converted into like a gaming room. There's shelving, and here's the landlord's TV that I didn't really like. Then we'll head to the second bathroom. It just has a stand-up shower, nothing too special. And this is the main bedroom. The bathroom has a see-through window, a heated toilet, and a full bath. Then this is my room, master bedroom, which is the final stop on this tour. Now, I'd like you to guess how much it is per month. But I should tell you we pay 3 months or 6 months all at once.
America keeps telling its citizens they live in the best country on earth. But what happens when they see a different version of success? One that isn't built on credit card debt, housing insecurity, or endless hustle. In China, middle-class life means stability. In America, it means survival. And maybe that's the point. Americans are waking up, not just to the truth about China, but to the lies they've been fed at home. The question is, what will they do about it? The truth is uncomfortable, but necessary. The American dream is no longer built for the middle class. If seeing China shatters your worldview, maybe it's time to rethink what freedom, prosperity, and quality of life really mean. So the challenge is this: stop believing the headlines. Start asking questions. Because if you've never left America, how would you even know you've been lied to?
China middle class, America middle class. Is there a difference? This video is trying to highlight that, it's trying to show. So for the longest time, Americans right now, they are crying and saying American dream is dead. People are coming online and say they have like 3, 4, 5 jobs and they can barely, make, you know, a dent. They cannot even pay their school, pay off their school debt. They cannot even afford to pay their mortgage. They cannot even afford, you know, to just live a comfortable life in America. They're just surviving. They're on survival mode, because they say just one wrong move they become homeless. That's basically how Americans are surviving, especially the ones who are below the middle class and the lower class. So what exactly is happening in America? Majority of Americans people, they operate using their credit cards. People have debt left, right, and center, and barely any saving whatsoever, and that is what is eating them up, and that is what is making more America being broke as time goes by, because every day they're using their credit card, and that debt increases every single day when you continue using it, because there's that interest being charged on that credit card. There's that interest. The more you're using it, the more, you know, your debt is increasing. So people who are literally living financially independent comfortably without no debt in America are very, very, very few in numbers. Majority of Americans are operating using their credits. The mortgage, that's credit. Student loans, credit. Savings, do they have, hardly do they have any savings, and the system has literally been built on that ground, that, you know what, when you borrow and you pay for something, then you end up getting more points. Yes, that's basically how America is operating. While in China, they really know how to save, and they really know the power of paying in cash, the power of, you know, buying a product when you have that money. They do not they don't like the idea of using credit cards to pay for products or services. They prefer, you know, if they need to use the credit card, then it's for an asset, something that is going to increase in value over time. But if you talk to if you go online and look at the Chinese, the way they operate, they'll tell you for the longest time, since once upon a time China was poor. I mean, poor, until that, I mean, that time people were starving. Others used to turn and eat, you know, dogs and other types of animals just to survive. So they have that mentality of one day, one time, things will be bad, so they always like to save. That's the reason why Chinese, when it comes to saving, they love it. And the things of living below their means, they love that thing. They only want to buy stuff if they can afford it, if they have saved or they have the money for it. And as a result of that, you're seeing so many Chinese right now, and thanks to the government, they are so wealthy, they have money. And in the process of that background, yeah, Chinese have grown up, you know, to value, you know, assets, having assets, because they don't want to go to poverty, because they know what poverty is all about. Now the government of China for the longest time has control, you know, the speculation. They don't like doing a lot of speculation when it comes to real estate. They don't like the stock market, where they control the whole country. They don't like that. They want to have a say on how things are, and they give priority to their citizens in terms of the people need to be taken care of in terms of health insurance, to have affordable health insurance, to have affordable housing, to have affordable, you know, food, because they want to make the citizen or their people happy. Because China, for the longest time, they have over 5,000 history, and they have learned one thing: when the citizens are not happy, chaos erupt, and they always want to make sure their citizens, the people, are happy, and of course their stomach are full, and they literally can afford their daily necessity. And they have done that. They put up policies in place which are taking care of that, and now China is thriving and excelling. That's the reason why in this video you're looking at the middle class Chinese, and the way Americans are operating, it's like night and day. Now for the American, it is a capitalist system, where, you know, when you have more money, you get more out of the community. And yes, the policies that are in America favors the people who are into business. It favors people who are into who are making money or creating jobs in the economy, because there's those tax write-off that favors people who own businesses as compared to people who are consumer of those jobs. And as a result of that, also the policies that are being being put down in America, they favor more stock market, hedge fund, capitalists, people who literally are speculating on what's happening in the economy, and so they can make more money on stock market. And as a result of that, now the speculation has been so much, the prices have gone high that people cannot afford houses. People cannot afford health insurance because health insurance is very expensive in America. It's like an arm and a leg. Housing is very expensive. It's like an arm and a leg. People are unable to pay. And people right now are suffering. They're struggling because they say it's too much, it's too expensive. People having like 3, 4, 5 jobs, and still they cannot even afford what the type of lifestyle that they want to live. That's basically the difference between America and China middle class. Let me know what you think about this video. Drop your comments and subscribe to my channel.